Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to heal in Mythic Plus with Holy Priest in Shadowlands patch 9.2. Holy Priest is a healer that's been slowly rising throughout the expansion, and with the damage buffs and powerful tier bonuses, I think this will be the first season that we see really high keys done with Holy Priest. Holy Priest is a very straightforward and traditional healer, so it is great for beginners, but there is still a lot of cool utility that can have a big impact, so the class definitely has some depth. The biggest weakness of Holy Priest is its durability and mobility. It's quite slow and doesn't have nearly as powerful defensives as some of the other healers. This is why I think the best race for Priest is either Goblin for Horde or Night Elf for Alliance. They have the best racial abilities to help you escape danger. For stats in Mythic Plus, you want a solid mix of haste, verse, and crit. You want enough haste to be able to dish out spells quickly, but still enough verse and crit to make those spells potent. As you move up into very high level keys, you may want to favor versatility more just for that extra tankiness. I'd recommend at least 20% haste or so and an even balance of verse and crit. Mastery is a really good stat for healing, however it doesn't contribute at all to your damage. If you're just gearing up or simply don't care about damage, it's just fine to equip a high mastery piece if it has a good item level. As you try and maximize your damage though, you will want to get rid of as much mastery as possible. As for trinkets, the main goal is just to get big stat procs and bonuses that will help your healing and damage. The two best stat trinkets right now are Unbound Changeling and Solia's Secret Technique. You can farm both of these from Mythic Plus and then upgrade them with Valor. If you're looking for a little more damage, you could try the Resonant Reservoir from Desegni and Sepulture or the Divisible Ooze from Plaguefall. These will both boost your damage, but at the cost that you're getting no benefit to your healing abilities. For your legendary power, I'd recommend starting with Flash Concentration, crafted on the neck. I made mine with Haste Verse, but if you wanted to make yours with Crit Mastery to use in raids or whatever else, that's fine too. Flash Concentration has been the go-to for the entire expansion. It greatly increases your healing power and mana efficiency. It's a bit of a pain to maintain the stacks, but it's definitely worth it. Towards the end of the season, you may see priests start to try higher DPS options once they feel like they're strong enough to heal without it. There honestly isn't a lot of good damage options for Holy Priest, so I wouldn't worry about that too much, but feel free to craft lower level Legos of other varieties just to try them out. Holy Priest doesn't have too many strong covenants, so the go-to right now is Kyrian. Kyrian Boon gives you a nice damage cooldown that synergizes really well with the buff from the seasonal affix. If used at the right time, you can use Ascended Blast repeatedly for a very high single target damage burst. The cooldown reduction synergy from the buff, the Kyrian Lego, and your Soulbinds work really well together to allow you to use that in almost every pack. If you don't care as much about damage, you could also play Night Fae for the extra buffs and the mobility. For the purposes of this guide, I'm only going to go through my Kyrian setup, but just know there's a lot of different ways to play it. The Soulbind tree I would use is Mechanicos. This tree gives you some free damage from a few of the nodes, as well as a big cooldown reduction on your boon if used near multiple enemies. Keep in mind this CDR triggers right when you start your boon, so you do want to be near mobs when you use it if possible. The potency conduits I use are Resonant Words and Courageous Ascension. I decided to give up my third potency for the Hammer of Genesis. If you're looking for a bit more juice to your healing, you can swap that for the Holy Oration conduit. You select all endurance conduits except for Charitable Soul, since you aren't pressing Power Word Shield too much. You can run whichever finesse conduit you want based off of preference. Honestly, they're all solid options and good in different scenarios. And lastly for setup, I'll mention talents. In the first row, I'm taking Trail of Light for some additional healing, Angelic Feather in the second row for that extra mobility. In the third row, I like Guardian Angel, since it allows you to use your GS more liberally. The fourth row, I'm taking either Shining Force or Censure. Shining Force is nice to move mobs around if you're in a more coordinated setting. However, in Pugs, you might just want Censure just to get some more stun power out there when your teammates aren't really interrupting. Surge of Light is a must-take in the level 40 row, and Divine Star for that big AoE damage in the 45 row. Lastly, Apotheosis, as it becomes your go-to power healing cooldown. With the cooldown reduction, you can use this many times throughout the dungeons, so don't be stingy with it. I want to also discuss rotation a bit now that we're done with setup. The most important thing is that you always maintain 5 stacks of Flash Concentration by using Flash Heal every 20 seconds. A critical part of your rotation with respect to your conduits and tier set is weaving in those Holy Word spells in between your heals. Holy Word Chastise, Serenity, and Sanctify are all instant cast powerful abilities that should be used whenever possible. Not only are they simply powerful abilities, but they turn you into an absolute powerhouse if used often. Each Holy Word buffs your next heal by over 100% with the Conduit and Smite by 60%. With the buffs, your heal is going to nearly fully top a teammate with a single cast. Keep your flash concentration up, use Holy Words one at a time when they're available, and then fill the in-between with Smite and Heal. Circle of Healing, Prayer of Mending, and Renew are all pretty low effectiveness heals that shouldn't be used too often. The biggest benefit to them is that they're instant cast so that you can use them on the move. If you need to get some healing out but you have to dodge mechanics or just run around, these might be your best options, so don't forget about them. For DPS, don't forget to also weave in Holy Fire, Shadow Word Pain, and Divine Star. If you're just getting used to healing, don't worry about dealing damage as a healer too much. The main purpose of your DPS abilities are just to speed up the dungeon when you know you don't have any healing to do. If you're inexperienced though, it can be hard to tell what times are safe to DPS and when danger is right around the corner. Your big cooldowns for healing are Apotheosis and Divine Hymn. They're both straightforward, and they increase your healing over the next 20 seconds, so it's best to use them early. Apoth gives you even more increased Holy Word reduction, meaning you can basically cast a Holy Word every other spell. If you feel like you don't need it, remember you can also use it for DPS, resetting the cooldown of your Chastise. Symbol of Hope is also a cool cooldown. It gives you mana back as well as recharges your entire party's major defensive ability by 60 seconds. In Mythic Plus, I'm mainly using it to help the tank by recharging their defensives in packs that are living a really long time. It isn't really worth worrying about the DPS's defensives since those monkeys probably aren't even pressing them anyway. Guardian Spirit is a buff that increases healing on the target as well as gives them a cheat death and restores them to 40% HP if they were to take lethal damage. It's a really important part of the Holy Kit, and it's great if you're falling behind on your tank, or in a crisis situation you can just slap it on someone and not have to worry about them. Remember that you can cast it while you're stunned, so don't forget if you get caught in something, you can actually use it on yourself or your tank. Priests also have a lot of cool utility. I'm not going to go over every single ability in the kit, but take the time to get familiar with all your buttons and when to use them. The most iconic for sure is Leap of Faith. You can use this to help a tank kite, grab someone out of danger, or just troll your team if they're getting on your nerves. Mind Soothe greatly reduces the aggro range of a human or dragon mob and can be used out of combat. This is really helpful for skipping packs in dungeons. I'd also recommend using it in situations where you're fighting one pack and there's another pack nearby. Maybe you're just in close corridors or there's a patrol coming. You can actually Mind Soothe those mobs and it reduces their aggro range. It's really common for teammates and pugs to accidentally pull those packs and that can result in the wipe, and Mind Soothe can actually save those. Don't forget to also use your Shackle Undead or Psychic Scream to interrupt mobs. You can also remove buffs from enemies with Dispel Magic as a single one or Mass Dispel in AoE. Your strongest utility though is definitely Power Infusion. This is a haste buff. You can use it on yourself or an ally. It lasts for 20 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. I definitely recommend getting a weak aura or some sort of add-on to track your teammates' powerful cooldowns so that you can give them that haste right when they need it. Generally speaking, I don't worry too much about using it on the right person. When I'm pugging at least, I'll just use it on whoever seems to be the best player. I'm almost always using it on my teammates, but don't be afraid to pop it on yourself if you feel like you're in danger and you don't have much to heal with. Like I mentioned earlier, Priest has a lot of cool utility. I only wanted to highlight some of the most commonly used abilities. That covers most of the basic setup and gameplay advice that I have for Holy Priest this season. I'm definitely looking forward to playing this class more. I've been having fun doing keys with it. Let me know if you have any questions or things you want me to discuss further if I decide to make an advanced guide for high keys. I'll also include links to some of the UI stuff that you see in the video if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching and happy keying, friends.